So I had a subscriber ask me, where do you go next after you've done basic inspection, personal lines, and commercial inspections? Well, one of the best answers to that is environmental inspections. It pays well, and not just because you're protecting people's properties, but you're also protecting people's health. Now, in the last video, I talked about the next step as in luxury and high value homes. Well, if you've already done that, then you know that your next step is outside of all of that completely. So what exactly are environmental inspections? So when you start talking about environmental inspection, it goes deep, much deeper. It's way deeper than the basic inspection. We're talking about property risk. We're talking about hazards that can literally make buildings unsafe to work in and for people to live in. This is why most companies pay way more for those types of inspections. Think about it. Mold in the house. Mold all in the walls of the buildings. Lead paint being used in the homes or in these buildings. Leaky gas in the basement. Those are three hazards right there that you already know can cause tremendous hazard inside of a person's home and a building. Mold, lead, gas. And these aren't just cosmetic issues that you normally would find around the outside of a property when you're going to check for risk for your insurance carriers, which is what we've been basically doing most of the time. These are hazards that can cause potential lawsuits, serious health risks for those who live there or work inside of these properties. And you already know what goes along with that. Massive insurance claims. That's one of the reasons why you will most definitely get paid more if you were to move over into the environmental inspections. So now there are different types of environmental inspections. So we're going to talk about mold first. Mold is usually linked to stuff like water damage, water leakage, moisture problems, or just simply poor ventilation. How many of you have ever been in a building or just in your own home somewhere and you go in the bathroom to use the shower, and because you use the shower so much, and the windows are closed all the time and it's hot in the bathroom, this accumulates moisture. When your home is accumulating a lot of moisture, if there is possibility of mold in the wall, you will know the mold is there because it's going to seep through the wall, the crevices of your walls. Sometimes mold can even be found inside of the window sills from it being hot outside or rainy or whatever the case may be. But you can open up your windows, and in the crevices of the windowsill, you can see little areas where mold is starting to grow inside of your windows, which is why if you're anything like me and you have allergies, which of course I didn't even know I had, I thought it was the most stuff going on my whole life. And not long did I realize that's what my problem has been this whole time. Changed my life. But anyway, if you are anyone like me and you don't like dust or any sort of particles flying around you or all of that stuff in the air, then to clean your windowsills on a regular basis is a wonderful thing. To open your windows in your apartments, in your bathrooms, in your homes is a wonderful thing. But does that get rid of the mold? Of course it doesn't if they're already in the walls. If the mold is in the walls, then apparently if you start to do anything inside of the home or any sort of environmental change on the outside that makes it grow, it's going to start to show up inside of your home. And mold is known to make people sick. So as an inspector, you will be looking for growth of mold, the possibility that there's mold in and around these areas. And you may be required to do some sort of air testing. It all depends on what they're asking for you to do. And especially after floods and big storms, things of that nature, you can look for those types of inspections to be in high demand. Asbestos inspections, lead paint testing, or just random testing at someone's property, just to see if they are one of those locations that is prone to have any sort of hazard that would cause any sort of damage to the property itself, to the health of the people who live or work there, You can look to be able to do any of those sort of things if you were to get into environmental inspections. So now the big difference about environmental inspections versus basic inspections, or what we've been doing, where we said you don't need any sort of certification. Of course, you can't just be an environmental inspector and wing it. As an environmental inspector, you will need certification. This is a must and a requirement in order for you to do those sort of inspections. And of course, you already know that if that's the case, then you already know they've already upped the ante on your pay, on the fee. So think about that. If you're one who wants to be challenged and you're ready to move to the next level, you've had enough of what you've been doing, environmental inspections may be just the way to go. Okay, but since we're talking about inspection certifications, all right, so where do we get that? All right, well, you already know I did research for you guys, so hang in there, let me tell you. All right, so EPA safe certification, okay, that's going to be required for lead work. Lead paint testing, major issues in homes built before 1978, requirements by the federal law in certain cases. So EPA lead safe certification. IICRC certifications for mold, water damage, and fire cleanup. And then we have random licensing, which is usually state specific. And I think I've talked about that already before in another video, as far as the licensing and what states are required. But if I can remember offhand of what I've seen so far, it is Texas, Florida, New York. Okay, put it in the comment section if I'm wrong, all right? But certain states do require some sort of licensing in order to do that. So check with your state's environmental agency for that, just in case, because once again, I don't know for sure on everything, all right? Asbestos training. It is also offered by many state programs and environmental safety schools, all right? So those are your places that you may want to go and take a look at. Write them down. If you missed them, go back to them and listen to them one more time so that you can write them down, Google them, and find out where those schools are or what type of certification they have online. That way you'll know exactly what to do and where to go in order to get certification in order to be an environmental inspector. In the next video, I'm going to break down another growth path for you of where you can go after that. Okay, if you don't want to do that and you say, well, that's too much for me. I don't want to deal with mold. I don't want to look at asbestos. I don't want to deal with lead. I don't want to work with that. What you got next? Well, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, share if you need to, because you know I'll be bringing you something back later. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.